Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to, like, cringe so hard your face will collapse in onto itself? I can't remember exactly why I put a lot of these in here. I just, like, picked a bunch, like, a month ago. And even I forgot, so, as I tend to do. Let's see what the March 2017 progress report is all about.
Today, there are a lot of things that I'd like to talk about. Some of these things I'll discuss very briefly, and other things will be discussed in thorough detail. Some of these topics will be the focus of future videos. The purpose of this video is to give you an idea of the sheer number of things that you have to look forward to in the future.
Oh boy!
Let's get started. Over the past 35 months, I've been contacted by dozens of talented artists who offered to draw concept art for Yandere Simulator's characters. But almost nobody was interested in drawing concept art for environments. Recently, I found an artist who is willing to draw environments.
For free? Because maybe if you would pay somebody out of the $5,000 a month you're getting on Patreon, you could have an environment artist. Wow!
Julia DeFort sent a super chat. Yeah, because unpaid teens do the best work ever /s.
I mean, a lot of these kids did have talent. They wanted to be part of this, and they didn't know any better that they really should be paid for their time and labor, and he took advantage of that. I'm waiting on volunteers to get stuff done for me, completely out of my hands. When again, he was making $5,000 goddamn dollars a month on Patreon. He was like, no, that's my salary as the lead developer. But he could easily have taken that money and given someone like, I don't know, $300 a month to design shit for him or something. Just anything. Anything at all. You know? Or pay them per asset. Like, I don't want to say it was completely malicious on his part. Like, he was like, haha, hoo, hee, I'm going to rip off teenagers. Like, but you're a grown fucking man. You should have known better. And, like, you know, you should pay artists. Just, like, pay artists, guys. Everyone loves art, but they don't like paying artists, do they?
One of Yandere Simulator's upcoming rival characters, Kizana, is significantly similar to a previously existing character.
Did this chick ever get put in the game? I don't think she did. Yansim only has Osana. Amai was put in temporarily as a challenge to see how YouTubers kill her, so Alex can make her more difficult. But then he, like, made the 1980s mode and put in 10 rivals. And it works. Like, is he just mocking people at this point?
Every day after my workday has ended, I spend a few hours streaming video games on Twitch TV.
A few hours, more like 10 in a row. While I'm sitting here streaming Cuphead and screaming at the top of my lungs, I am conceptualizing additions to Yandere Simulator.
Now, this is the part of the video where I put up an illustration of Osana and display a graphic of a clock or something and put some text on screen and tell you that, sadly, Osana is still not.
I wish I knew about this image. I just would have used it for the thumbnail. She not finished.
Now, I'll admit, some of the videos that I work on are arguably not completely necessary.
Like this one. If you didn't waste time editing videos and just shut up and made your fucking game, it would have been done already.
If you're thinking, darn it, Yandere Dev, stop working on promotional videos and just focus.
Did you not have your girl for this?
Yandere Dev, stop wasting your fucking time on these videos!
My explanation is that a lot of these video projects were in development since long before I started working on Osana.
Sounds like fucking cope, bro. I edit videos myself too. It sounds like fucking cope to me.
Angels Art and Gaming sent a super chat. Still kills me he doesn't do development streams.
Cause he wasn't working on the fucking game. Right before Osana came out, all of a sudden, he stopped streaming video games on Twitch for like 2 weeks. I wonder what made that happen. It couldn't be he was quickly cobbling together this thing that he had promised for years and wasn't working on. No. Had to be something else. Oh, okay, I guess he's gonna stab Midori Guden at the end here. So wait, if you had the voice actor for this, why didn't you have her in the middle of the video? Why did I have to do it?
Yandere Dev. So, yeah, I just saw your latest video, and I came up with an idea. And I also wanted to ask a few questions about...
Shut up.
Shut up, representation of my audience. This is how I feel about you. Next video. Is Yandere Simulator supposed to be taken seriously? Because, you know, it's called fucking whatever simulator. Those games were always jokes. But he started taking it serious. He thinks he's writing like a really deep story here, guys.
In January of 2016, I made a video about the reasons why it might be a good idea to rename Yandere Simulator. My primary concern was that the game's title could cause people to dismiss it as a joke game.
It should have been a joke game, Alex. It should have always been a joke game. The concept is inherently comedic. If you had just kept it a silly joke game, making fun of anime tropes, and actually did your fucking work, you would have had a successful game like fucking 6 years ago.
Yandere Simulator was always meant to be a dark and serious game, and Yandere Simulator is meant to be taken seriously. This exact choice of words created the wrong impression about my intentions for the game. Today, I'd like to clarify what I was trying to communicate. Yandere Simulator is a game with dark subject matter. It's about a stalker who is sabotaging a young man's love life. The protagonist is a dangerous person who is willing to do horrible things to achieve her goals. In the past, I've described the game as a horror game, where you play as the monster.
It's not a fucking horror game, Alex. It's goofy as shit, and it should have stayed that way.
I never meant to imply that the game would have a completely dark and scary atmosphere 100% of the time. Imagine a cute, girly visual novel about a boy who is being romanced by 10 girls at school. But one of the background characters is killing all of the main characters when the protagonist isn't looking.
Yeah, Alex, they beat you to the punch. It was called Doki Doki Literature Club.
That's the kind of vibe I'm going for. A cute dating sim gone wrong.
Alex, do you know what the fuck dark comedy is? Oh, do you think... Did Doki Doki come out in 2017? You think he's being like a little bitter about it right now? That could be. I guess we can speed him up a little bit. We'll do 1.25, okay? How's that?
The only horrifying stuff about this game is the panty mechanic. Bada boom.
Got him!
If the player eliminates all of their rivals in non-destructive ways, then the game will always look like a cute, girly visual novel. In other words, the player has complete control over the atmosphere of the game. It will be precisely as dark as the player makes it through their choices and actions.
It should have just been a funny dark comedy killing game that makes fun of anime tropes, Alex. You had fucking gold here, and you just squandered it.
With that said, there are also whimsical things that were added just for fun, like silly Easter eggs. And some of the game's mechanics are based on anime tropes. I was trying to emphasize the fact that I'm trying to develop a real game.
Alex, there was nothing about your writing that could possibly be taken seriously. That's why I thought it was a fucking joke and you were in on it at the first. You know, it was that bad.
I've decided that the best solution would be to give people the option of choosing what kind of atmosphere they want the game to have. The idea is that when you launch the game will ask you if you want to play Yandere Simulator.
This is a really fucking stupid idea, and he never did it, so... And of course, like, the funny one has to be, like, the panties on a heart butt of a teenage girl, yeah. The appeal of Yandere Simulator was having the cutesy anime look, but you're going around fucking stabbing people in the head. That was the appeal of it, that juxtaposition, because it's inherently comedic. Owlman says, I just joined, and the first thing I heard was, panties on the heart butt of a teenage girl. Welcome! Welcome to Yandev 2 Electric Boogaloo!
In Yandere Simulator, the protagonist's home is meant to feel like a soothing, peaceful place. In Lovesick, the protagonist's home is meant to feel like the lair of a deranged killer.
Look, he put a gray filter on it. Isn't it spooky now, guys? Fucking dude. We're gonna go through all of his waffling about why Osana isn't in the game, and I think this is gonna span like fucking 5 years of videos. So everybody buckle up! But
I would like to make a video where I elaborate about my game design philosophy for Osana. As I explained back in January, the player can eavesdrop on conversations between Osana and Senpai to learn what they plan to do later in the day so that the player can sabotage their interactions and ruin their relationship. On Wednesday morning, the player can learn that Osana plans to take a photograph of something for Senpai. The player can sabotage Osana's plans by stealing her phone and putting lewd photographs on it. So when Osana gives her phone to Senpai, he'll see a bunch of dirty things on her phone and become disgusted with her.
Why wouldn't she check it herself first? What, did he swipe left and see a bunch of panty shots? What a rude motherfucker.
For Kokona, there was only one specific time on one specific day when she would leave her phone unattended. There was also only one specific opportunity for the player to return Kokona's phone. The more I thought about this, the more I disliked it. I don't like the idea of forcing the player to remain locked to one very specific path without any room to be creative, improvise.
Except when Osana was finally implemented, people were killing her at the very start of the school day and getting away with it, and that pissed him off so much, he gave her an indestructible companion that will protect her.
Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, Osana plans to take a photo and show it to Senpai later in the day. If there was only one opportunity for her to do this and the player interfered with Osana's routine at that point in time, then the player would lose the ability to sabotage the event. So instead, Osana will attempt to take the photo anytime.
Well, shouldn't that be the player's choice then?
In short, what I'm saying is that the player is in control of the situation and isn't forced to work with one very specific window of.
Well, except they are! And you're saying I have to make sure they can't possibly miss this event, but okay, it's their own fucking fault or decision if they do.
Time. The easy route would have been the player can't affect Osana's routine, the player only has one opportunity to steal her phone, the player only has one opportunity to return the phone, Osana's routine doesn't change when her phone is gone, and Osana only has one opportunity to take the photo. This would have taken very little time to implement, and I would have been able to bring Osana to you faster.
I could have brought this to you faster, but I want to put in all this little nitpicky bullshit to make sure you play exactly the way I want you to. And this was 7 years ago!
Each event will be different in nature, and some will have less potential to be organic. Also, because Osana is the first rival, she's meant to be the least challenging rival to defeat.
She's meant to be the least challenging rival to defeat. Now everybody keep that in mind for the next videos we're gonna watch.
Is my game design philosophy for Osana. Or at least, that's part of it. There will also be other factors involved that will make it more difficult to eliminate her. But I'll elaborate about that in a different video.
7 years ago, he was already thinking of putting in Raibaru. Even back then, he was already planning to, like, railroad people into eliminating Osana in ways he wanted you to do it, while saying that's not what he's doing.
I hope that everybody likes the latest feature. I think I'll read the comments and see what people are saying.
Where's Osana? Why isn't Osana done yet? When will you work on Osana? Osana!
Oh wow, valid questions about why you're stalling the main gameplay loop. Wow, how terrible.
Oh wow, we need to have a talk.
It's fucking lorch-pilled right there, like, oh wow, my fans are expecting things I promised to them. We need to have a talk about your behavior.
If I put Osana into the game right now, it would not be any fun to eliminate her. It would be exactly like killing Kokona or any.
Which was fun, and people were having fun doing it. What is your damage, dude?
In order for me to craft a fun and challenging experience, I need many different types of obstacles that I can use to create interesting scenarios that require the player to be clever and use strategy in order to accomplish their objective. I need things like the student council, the bullies, the delinquents, the photography club, etc.
Why do you need all these things just to put in the first goddamn rival? I don't think you needed all of that. You're just procrastinating.
The build that contains Osana is going to be a big deal. It should be a completely accurate representation of the experience of playing the final game. That's why it's so important to get every other aspect of the game working before I implement Osana. It was a huge mistake for me to put so much emphasis on Osana in the past, because it created the false impression that Osana should be my one and only priority.
She should have been. She is the first character in the gameplay loop, you promise. But instead of doing just the core gameplay loop, you added in all this extra bullshit for no reason.
My goal is to give you an excellent experience, not to give you a target to kill as soon as possible. Osana will not be my top priority until I've finished working on every other feature that is required to present you with a build that represents my vision for the final game.
This is just self-sabotage. This is all this is.
Because all of these things are required for Osana to be in the game, the act of working on these things.
No, they're not! People were already having fun with your open world sandbox game, and if you had stuck with tiny build, you could have gotten the game done.
Yandere Dev, Yandere Dev! If it takes 5 years to finish one rival, and 9 will remain after her, does that mean it'll take 45 more years to finish the game?
Probably at this rate.
Absolutely not. After the first rival has been completed, implementing all subsequent rivals will be much, much faster.
How do we think that turned out, guys?
The time spent on the game's development so far does not represent how long it takes to complete a single rival. Once I've finished working on every feature that the game needs, I will switch 100% of my focus to the rivals. And that's when you'll start seeing rivals being implemented in a matter of months or weeks, not years.
So how long was the time between Osana and Amai? Oh, he actually got her in 2020. Okay, so it was a few months, but he still only has the first 2 rivals now here at our year of our Lord 2024.
I'll have a template that I can use for all future rivals. In other words, I can reuse a lot of the code that was used for Osana, so all future rivals can be implemented faster and more efficiently than Osana. After Osana, I will launch a crowdfunding campaign. One of the purposes of the crowdfunding campaign is to raise enough money to hire at least one experienced, highly qualified professional programmer to work on.
He's saying this in the same video where he has a fucking WordPress blog about why he stopped working with Tiny Build.
This programmer could build tools that will make it easier and faster to implement rivals and events. Right now, I am juggling the responsibilities of being the game's director and producer in addition to being its only programmer. In a best-case scenario, someone else would take my place as the game's programmer, so that I could work exclusively as the game's director and producer. If we rate—
That's what you had with Tiny Build! Right now, in the description of this video, you have a blog post, like, waffling around explaining why the fuck you ditched Tiny Build and broke your contract with them, because you didn't like what the programmer was doing. How are you still saying this with a straight face and expecting anybody to believe you?
I hope that this video helps you to understand why I'm not prioritizing Osana at this point in time.
Oh, I understand, you procrastinating bastard. Oh, this is I guess I put this in here. This is a compilation of him delaying Osana. So let's just let this play.
And I also can't say exactly how long it will take to implement Osana either. My goal for this year has always been to get Osana into the game fully functional before 2017. And I'm going to do my best to make it happen. I feel optimistic that I'll be able to make progress on Osana much more rapidly than ever before. And if I'm still struggling with Osana 1 month from now, then Tiny Build and I will reevaluate our plan so I can get the help I need with Osana. Whenever I upload a video without demonstrating any progress on Osana, there are people who take this as a sign that I'm not making any progress at all with the game. It was a huge mistake for me to put so much emphasis on Osana in the past, because it created the false impression that Osana should be my one and only priority. This makes me feel like I'm at the stage of development where I'm rolling out the red carpet for the first rival. I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. I deliberately put Osana at the bottom of my priority list. It's crazy to think that we're actually this close. I know that you've been waiting for Osana to be complete for a very long time.
This is a good video.
In the Hitman games, your objective is simple. Eliminate your target and escape. So, could you just stab your target right at the start of the mission and then run straight for the exit?
Well, people were able to do that in your game, and you got really, really butthurt about it.
Yandere Simulator takes place in a peaceful school, with no security guards and no guns. So, what exactly is stopping you from simply running up to your rival and stabbing her right at the start of the day?
Well, students should hopefully react to it, and then you get caught, but you couldn't program that well, so yeah.
Well, in the case of Osana, the answer is—
What are you doing? Stop! You won't get away with this!
Why didn't Senpai notice that? Like, if you kill the girl right in front of Senpai, that should be an automatic game over, shouldn't it? Like, he didn't, like, hear the stabbing and the screaming and turn around? That seems like an issue on your implementation, bro. You didn't need to put an indestructible girl in there to, like, attack you.
This girl. Her name is Raibaru. Who exactly is she, and what role does she play in Yandere Simulator? I'll start by explaining what purposes she serves from a game design perspective.
I already know from what game design perspective. It was you being butthurt that people could kill Osana within 5 seconds of starting the game, and you couldn't, your poor little fragile ego couldn't handle that. You couldn't, for whatever reason, make it so Senpai would react if you just stab her there. You instead had to add this fucking indestructible girl that follows her around 24/7.
Most importantly, Raibaru spends all of her time with Osana, which prevents the player from being able to eliminate Osana without a witness.
Yeah, why the fuck does she just follow her around school all day? That's creepy. And isn't Senpai supposed to be Osana's best friend?
This means that Raibaru essentially serves the same function as a personal bodyguard from Hitman.
Which is stupid for this game, and you shouldn't have done it.
She can sense danger, she has lightning-fast reflexes, and she is strong enough to physically overpower Yandere-chan, even if you raise your strength.
Why? Again, so this is just a bullshit, unfair mechanic you put in because you just were butthurt that people could kill the first easiest rival so easily and didn't follow all your little step-by-step bullshit to do it.
So, instead of attacking her, how about separating Raibaru and Osana? One way to separate a student from a crowd is to talk with them, which causes them to stand still while everyone else moves on ahead. However, this strategy won't work for Raibaru. She thinks it would be rude to ignore a friend.
You could separate her, but this girl is super special and doesn't work like the other NPCs because I don't want you to be able to kill Osana right away.
So she will refuse to speak with Yandere-chan while she's spending time with Osana. Trying to distract her with a giggle or a radio won't work. She ignores all audible distractions while she's hanging out with Osana.
You wonder why people thought she had a fucking crush on Osana then. She's like, she follows her around everywhere, will fucking go apeshit on anyone who even, like, looks at her funny.
Neonbine sent a super chat. I get trying to overturn things because you want a fight to go a certain way, but consider the following. Is it fun?
Yeah, it's not fun. This is the whole thing.
And you won't be able to send a student to distract her either. The other students are fully aware of how strong Raibaru is, and they don't want to risk getting on her bad side. So they won't agree to distract her.
Like, nobody will, like, even touch her because, you know, this will just ruin Yandev's day if people can play the game the way they want to.
I don't want the player to be able to eliminate any rival with a straightforward, brain-dead strategy. To think.
Why? That is their choice if they want to play that way. If that's the way they have fun, who cares? There are other people who will actually go through your little bullshit. He just made this because trolls were fucking with him by killing Osana quickly. People who actually liked the game would have done it the correct way and would have enjoyed themselves. But who the fuck cares if somebody, like, ruins the game for themselves by just killing her on the first day? Why do you care so much?
Strategize and solve problems in order to make a rival become vulnerable. Some rivals will be accompanied by characters who serve the same function as a team of bodyguards.
Okay, now see, this makes sense. You have the fucking delinquent leader girl with her delinquent simps. But hey, this girl is supposed to be like the fourth one, I think? The fourth or fifth rival? So yeah, it makes sense she has bodyguards. It is more difficult to get to. The first girl is supposed to be easy!
And other rivals will have completely different circumstances that...
Guys, it's the overly affectionate little sister. There's definitely nothing sus about this.
FBI, open up!
Usually, whenever I make a video to introduce a new feature, I explain absolutely every aspect of that feature.
Yes, you do, which is why I never understood your excuse of I can't have someone read my emails for me because they might leak stuff about the game when you're the biggest leaker.
So, you're probably waiting for me to explain how to defeat Raibaru. But I'm not going to.
Oh, yeah?
I want you to figure it out for yourself. I want it to be a challenge for you, so I'm not going to give you any hints.
This is not a challenge. This is an arbitrary difficulty spike. This is not balancing the game. This is like making sure people can't play the game the way you don't want them to. That's all this is, you fucking asshole.
The released Golden Heart Soul sent a super chat. The strongest straight yandere of today versus the strongest gay yandere in history. Is all I hear.
Yeah, why didn't you make her yandere for Osana? That would have been funny, actually. That's why she follows her around and goes apeshit on anyone who even looks at her funny and won't pay attention to anything but her when they're together. You could have made her a lesbian yandere, and that could have been a funny joke and a funny, like, subversion and juxtaposition. But no, you just put her in because you were fucking bitter.
I deliberately put Osana at the bottom of my priority list, because I felt it was more important to finish implementing every feature I thought the game required in order to be fun.
We know.
In June, I finally felt as though I had implemented enough features to justify returning to Osana.
And then you quickly and frantically cobbled her together in 2 fucking weeks after promising her for years.
Thank you for following the development.
Give us the gays, Alex! Let us have at least one gay. Just a crumb of gay, Alex. Come on. Well, this is the announcement of Osana. I don't know why this one didn't autoplay. Oh, that's why.
Hi. Osana is complete. Yandere Simulator's first official demo is now available. Links are in the description. Right now, you might have a bunch of questions, like, how much content is in the demo? How close is the demo to the final game? How long did it take to make Osana?
Let's see, this was 4 years ago. The game is still not complete, but okay.
Osana's week involves 19 scripted events, 1 stealth mission, and 17 different elimination methods. In fact, there is so much content in the Osana demo, it's entirely possible that most people who play it won't even realize just how much the demo has to offer, or how to access all of its content. Fortunately, there is a solution. You're
gonna explain it all right now, aren't you? Because this is another thing he implemented to make sure nobody misses all of his brilliant work.
Pause the game, enter InfoChan's menu, and access the Schemes page. You will see a scheme for each of Osana's elimination methods. In case you don't know, a scheme is a kind of step-by-step walkthrough.
I want my game to feel organic, so here's a list of how to do every elimination method I program step by step with no surprises or figuring it out your fucking self.
This feature was inspired by something from the Hitman games called Opportunities. Opportunities provide the player with step-by-step guides to eliminating their targets in specific ways. In my experience, the most fun aspect of playing the Hitman games is when I replay a mission over and over, going down the list of every possible way to eliminate my targets, until I've experienced all of the content that the mission has to offer. That's exactly how I hope people will enjoy the Osana demo.
So, like, he doesn't even play Hitman correctly. He's, like, basing his game on it.
So, after hearing that, you might be wondering, how close is the demo to the final game? This one is actually a bit complicated. It'll be easier to explain if I start at the beginning.
Okay.
When Yandere Simulator was originally conceived in 2014, it was designed to be a very simple game with very few features.
Long ago in the distant past, we need all this backstory, man. He's just like crowing and patting himself on the back for finally getting Osana put in the game.
Eventually, Yandere Simulator evolved into a project that would be too complex for one man to finish on his own. I realized that I would require
And then you got a contract with Tiny Build, and then you fucking broke it like an asshole. Yes, 2014, he started this game 10 years ago. And it's still not done. And he has shot himself in the foot at every single opportunity he has had to complete it.
Oblivion Blade TT sent a super chat. John, yes, V look. Chum added the third rival.
I like how we have this backstory in the super chats right now, where Johnny Silverhand is still keeping up with the development of Yandere Simulator in 2077.
Next, I'd like to shine some light on a particular subject. How long did it take to make Osana? I announced the beginning of Osana's development in October of 2016. However, I couldn't actually get very much work done because I lacked the animations, 3D models, music, voice acting, and other assets that would be needed to create her scripted events.
You know what could have fixed that, Alex? You could have taken some of your Patreon money to fucking pay somebody to do that for you instead of relying on teenage volunteers that you took advantage of and profited off of while they got fucking nothing.
Over the course of the next year, I gradually received a slow trickle of animations and models that allowed me to occasionally work on Osana in little bits and pieces.
It's my teenage volunteers' fault that they weren't getting me stuff fast enough, so I couldn't do any work. Shoot me in the fucking head, man.
It wasn't until November of 2017 that I finally had every asset necessary to finish all of Osana's scripted events. In the video where I showed off her events, I explained that there would be no point in releasing Osana at that moment in time, because the game was still lacking a bunch of features that were necessary in order for me to craft a fun and challenging experience.
Stalling and procrastination, that's all this was. Self-sabotage, that's all this fucking was.
Eventually, I was able to return my time and focus to Yandere Simulator, and Osana was completed in August of 2020. So I worked on her for 2 weeks in 2016, 12 weeks in 2017, 6 weeks in 2019, and 6 weeks in 2020. That means that from 2000...
You're just proving that you weren't doing the work you needed to do to start the actual main gameplay loop. It was early access, it was a demo, it didn't have to have completed features, you fucking oh god, he drives me so fucking crazy!
Oblivion Blade TT sent a super chat. John, yes, V I swear to god if you don't play the newest Yandere Simulator demo I will never give you even a second of peace.
I just want to die at that point if I had Johnny Silverhand in my head telling me that I had to play Yan Sim.
This means that in the 77 months that I've been developing Yandere Simulator, less than 8% of that time was spent on Osana. The rest of my time was spent on all of the other things that I deemed necessary for the demo to be an accurate representation of the final product.
Yeah, that you deemed necessary, that nobody fucking asked for.
The reason why it took 6 months to implement Osana is because I had to create the systems that were necessary for the game to support the presence of a special student that everything else would revolve around. Now that all of those systems are in place, dropping new rivals into the game will be much easier and faster.
Sure.
The most time-consuming part will be waiting for volunteers to create the animations and models necessary to give each rival a unique set of events.
And again, you could have just paid people, so you wouldn't have a long time gap waiting for people to do the shit for you that you couldn't do yourself.
In my opinion, Yandere Simulator is 90% gameplay mechanics and 10% story elements. 100% of the gameplay mechanics are now functional, but only 10%.
No, they're not. You don't even have the main gameplay loop in. Still, you don't have 10 rivals. You did 10 rivals in a completely different mode, but you can't do it in the main game for some reason. And bullshit, that's how much story takes. Your story is the most important thing to you. You think your writing is goddamn brilliant.
So you could say that the game is currently 91% complete. The 9 remaining rivals are the 9 remaining percent. I am known as Yandere Simulator's lead programmer, but that's not my only responsibility. There are many other obligations that I have to attend to on a daily basis. These various responsibilities take up the majority of my day.
Writing code, speaking with 2D artists, speaking with 3D artists, speaking with animators, speaking with composers, speaking with voice actors, writing dialogue, game design tasks, creating videos for YouTube, discussing business deals. Okay, strike that one off, because you fucked up the tiny build thing, and this is way after that. Strike off creating YouTube videos, because you shouldn't be doing that anyway. You should be working on your fucking game. You could lump all of this speaking with people working on the game in here. And again, they're fucking teenage volunteers when you could be paying adults to do this work.
Now that the demo is released, there are tons of videos I'd like to make. I want to show you the new character models that are being created.
Stop making videos! Stop making videos and just work on your fucking game! Oh my god!
I want to show you a short story featuring Megami and Aoi. I want to make an in-depth
Why?
video about the history of Yandere Simulator's development to clear
Why?
up some common
You're doing that
misconceptions
right
about the
now.
game. The demo has a new title screen. If you play the game as a pacifist, Yandere-chan will look innocent at the title screen. But if you kill anyone, then Yandere-chan's appearance will change to reflect the fact that you are playing through the game as a murderer.
I mean, what's the point of making her a yandere, then, if you're just gonna be able to let her peacefully solve things? That just defeats the entire fucking purpose.
Osana's friend, Raibaru, has been described as an invincible bodyguard.
Yes.
But that's not really true. It's actually pretty easy to get her away from Osana. Her purpose is to prevent the player from being able to simply run up to Osana and stab her right at the start of the day, without any immediate...
Yeah, exactly. Precisely why you fucking put her in the game, because you were butthurt that people could do that.
Osana is the first rival, so she should be the easiest to eliminate.
this is blending
However,
in.
with that said, I feel that it's currently way too easy to eliminate Osana. Even the first rival should still present a little challenge.
Yeah, but not a lot. She's like the tutorial character, you fucking idiot. He's not thinking about good game design, and he wants people to play the game his specific way he programmed it, because otherwise all of his work is gonna go to waste.
The only other thing worth mentioning is that some of the cutscenes in the demo don't have animations. There was an animator creating animations for these cutscenes, but they never finished.
Maybe because you weren't fucking paying them and they were just a teenager you were exploiting, you fucking douchebag. This is like a 24-minute video, so I'm gonna keep him on high speed, I think.
That I could stand on top of dead bodies. This made me wonder if it was possible to gather a bunch of corpses into a pile and use them as a stairway to climb over walls. I tried it, and it worked. A few people actually suggested that I should stop developing Yandere Simulator and start developing a puzzle game.
I think somebody pointed out that this green guy is 4chan. You are correct. He first gave the idea of the game to 4chan and was making changes to satisfy them. After he started picking up steam, he just basically went, fuck you 4chan, I don't need you guys anymore, you guys suck.
One person in particular said something memorable that has stuck with me for years. He said, when you are developing a game and you accidentally discover something that is way more fun and interesting than your original plan for the game, you should abandon your original plan and start building your game around the new discovery you made.
Alex! That's exactly what you were fighting against! You were fighting against what people played your game for. They liked it because it was silly. They liked it because it was funny. They liked it because it was making fun of anime tropes. They liked it being open world sandbox. But you went and took away all of those things.
When I read that post, I immediately said, no way. I'm not going to change my priorities every time I see something cool. I'm going to stick to the original plan.
You did that the entire time! Hey guys, I came up with a new idea. I'm immediately gonna drop everything to implement it, even though I don't have the main game finished yet. Ah, God. I don't know why he gets under my skin more than anybody. I think it's because he actually had a golden opportunity that he could have built into something, and he just fucking wasted it at every fucking step of the way. It just makes my blood fucking boil.
I did not stick to the original plan. The Yandere Simulator that exists today is completely different from the game that I designed back in 2014. Why? What made me deviate so much from the initial plan? When did my priorities change? Well, it didn't happen for any one specific reason, or at any one exact moment in time. Rather, the transformation of Yandere Simulator...
I just want to point out real quick that the name of this video is How Does Yandev Feel About Yandere Simulator being in development for 7 years, and this was 3 years ago!
I think I can explain exactly how it happened, and in this video, that's what I intend to do. If you go back and look through the oldest videos on my channel, you'll notice that almost every upload was about the latest feature that had been added to the game. Yeah. Kidnapping, then senpai, then teachers, then pushing girls off the roof, then poisoning, then drowning.
Wait, was kidnapping put in before senpai? Did you put in kidnapping teenage girls and tying them up in your basement before you even put in senpai? This was always a fetish game, wasn't it?
I thought of Yandere Simulator as a checklist of tasks to do. I thought of the project as something that would be finished as soon as every task on the list was complete.
You just kept making the list bigger and bigger and telling yourself, oh, I'm totally getting work done though, guys. I just need to do all these things before I do the thing you want me to do. William Eagleheart says, I've just realized he sounds like a kid who hasn't done their homework explaining to their parents what they have done so they don't get in trouble. It's like, oh, but I did these chores and I put together a Lego palace and, you know, I did all these other things.
Over time, I started to see the game as something else. There were a lot of different factors that changed my perception of the game, but out of all of them, the one factor that had the greatest degree of influence was the game's sudden rise to popularity on YouTube, starting in 2015. Being able to watch people play the game I was developing was an eye-opening experience. I got to see what parts of the game were confusing to people, what features people enjoyed the most, and I got to hear people talk about the features they wished were in the game.
And then you ignored all of that because people liked it being a silly sandbox about being a Japanese schoolgirl who stabs other Japanese schoolgirls, and that's all it ever needed to be, man. You didn't have to do all this.
Releasing a new build of the game, then watching people play the latest build on YouTube, and then making improvements to the game based on what I saw in those videos was a positive feedback loop that quickly became my daily routine. It was so rewarding and so fulfilling.
He just liked the thrill of YouTubers playing his game more than actually making the damn thing.
I started seeing the game as something that should constantly be updated and improved based on what I observed from the fan base. People find creative ways to enjoy the game. I couldn't resist the urge to enrich the experience for them. And whenever I heard people describe what they wanted to see in the game, I couldn't resist the temptation to make their wishes come true. As time passed, Yandere Simulator started to feel less like a checklist of tasks and more like an amusement park that I should fill with as many cool attractions as possible. Giving people new ways to have fun and get more enjoyment out of the game was very rewarding.
You know what would have made it more fun and give people more enjoyment out of the game is making the actual fucking gameplay loop of eliminating rivals. That would have been it, Alex, instead of adding all this fun park distraction bullshit that didn't matter.
Around this point in time, there were also other factors that were causing me to redirect my focus towards things that were never part of the original plan for the game. When my YouTube channel took off and became way more popular than I ever expected, I felt an immense amount of pressure to upload videos on a regular basis.
You just wanted to be a YouTuber.
Instead of focusing exclusively on giving the game an objective, I started filling the game with tons of fun activities. And I took the time to collaborate with amazing people to make awesome videos for my YouTube channel. I observed what the community enjoyed, and I adjusted my priorities accordingly. I allowed the game to become something that is free to change and improve whenever I make new observations and discoveries.
Improve.
In short, I did exactly what that anonymous guy from 2014 suggested, even though I initially rejected what he had to say.
You initially rejected it, but now you're like, ah, maybe he was right, except he wasn't, and you probably misunderstood what the fuck he was saying. He was just saying, oh, hey, you discovered a neat mechanic you could do with these models, so maybe you should implement that in some way, like, oh, God.
These decisions contributed towards Yandere Simulator spending more time in development than I originally anticipated, and I can't really see that as a bad thing. However, there is something else that I do see as a mistake.
Oh yeah?
Yandere Simulator's transformation happened so gradually, over such a long period of time, that I didn't actually notice it was happening.
I spent so much time procrastinating, I didn't realize how much bullshit I had piled on top of my code, making it impossible to finish the game.
I was slowly transforming Yandere Simulator into a completely different type of game than what I initially designed. Because I failed to recognize this, I gave my audience the wrong impression about the game and its development.
Like, he is, like, putting this in the most, like, self-aggrandizing way he can.
For 7 years straight, across dozens of videos, I've been talking about Yandere Simulator as though it was a traditional game project, where the developer just goes down a checklist of tasks until the game is done.
Where is he going with
I never
this?
once described Yandere Simulator as an amusement park that I was filling with attractions, or as a project that evolves and expands in response to whatever the community is doing for fun. I was pulling the game in many different directions simultaneously, motivated by a desire to please as many people as possible.
All this time, people have been telling him this exact fucking thing. That you are wasting your time adding all this bullshit. And he's like, I'm starting to think maybe people didn't understand that I was doing this. They did! They understood the entire time and told you, but now you're just trying to justify it in retrospect, you know?
Told people to expect a stealth assassination game about killing 10 rivals. But instead of making that,
Well, you fucking sold it as a stealth assassination game where you killed 10 rivals and started talking about how you wanted to make it like Hitman. So gee, no wonder that shaped people's expectations of what you were doing.
I made an amusement park with dozens of attractions and only one rival. Because my words were inconsistent with my actions, many people began to question my intentions.
Yeah, dude, they were right to, and now you're just trying to, like, cobble together an excuse for why it's not your fault.
This could have been avoided so easily if only I had recognized early in development that Yandere Simulator was drifting away from the original plan.
Yeah, drifting away from the original plan because you kept just adding meaningless bullshit to it. So you could say, see, I'm working and updating, see?
Told people to expect a school sandbox that is regularly updated with new features and activities. This would have given people the correct expectations for the game. And all of the work I've done over the past few years...
This would have given people the correct expectations instead of actually believing all the bullshit I've been saying for the last 7 years.
Instead, many people completely ignore the giant mountain of content in Yandere Simulator and judge the game exclusively on the number of rivals that are not present.
Yeah, because you just keep adding meaningless fucking bullshit instead of the game you said you were making. Okay, people cosplay these fucking characters and they haven't even been put in the game.
If only I hadn't placed so much emphasis on the rivals, I could have avoided a lot of problems.
If only I didn't put so much emphasis on actually making a real game, I wouldn't have had to make a real game and I wouldn't have any of these problems right now.
But there is some good news. There are many people who don't care how long the game has been in development for, or how many rivals aren't in the game. They
Yeah, your sycophantic fucking fans were the new teenagers that replaced the old ones who grew out of it.
only care about how much fun they can have with the stuff that is in the game. When I look in the Yandere Simulator Discord, for example,
Yeah, how freely can they talk in your fucking Discord server, Alex? What will get them banned if they upset you in any way, I wonder?
This is gonna be my personal attempt at getting banned really fast. So it started. And did I just get banned? Wait, there's no way.
Yeah, your fucking name! Your name got you banned!
Yo! Let's go!
thankfully, there are plenty of people who recognize that eliminating rivals is only a fraction of what Yandere Simulator provides. And instead of focusing on
Luckily, I have some fans that I've gaslit into thinking that this was the plan all along, and they should be grateful.
what the game doesn't have, they enjoy Yandere
Oblivion
Simulator
Blade
for
TD
what it
sent a
is.
super chat. John, yes. V. You need to get my Sonic medallion and old cyber deck with the Ansem demo 3.69420 on it back from Smasher. Please V, do a chum a favor.
For these people, Yandere Simulator is not a game that still isn't finished after 7 years. It's a game that has been regularly updated with new content for 7 years. And I'm inclined to agree with that interpretation.
Yeah, of course you are, because this is the whole reason. It isn't that the game is still finished. I've been adding stuff to it this whole time. See, you guys? I've been adding stuff and working on it, so you can't be mad at me for not actually making the actual game.
When I see how much fun people are able to have with the game in its current state, it makes me feel like I've created something good. It makes me feel like the decision to update my priorities throughout development was not a bad idea.
It was, though. You're just coping. You're just coping and seething and malding.
Now, after hearing me say all of that, you might be thinking, so Yandere Dev, is this video your way of saying that you see Yandere Simulator as the type of project that just keeps getting updated with new content and features indefinitely, and that you don't actually have any interest in working on the rivals or finishing the game?
Yes, I am wondering that right now. You could finish the game and then have it be updated with new content and features indefinitely. Imagine that!
I'm happy that I've created something that so many people enjoy for such a wide variety of different reasons. But I never intended for one project to dominate my life for 7 years.
It didn't have to. This is all your own fault. You didn't have to make it take this long. If you just stuck with Tiny Build, it would have been done already. You kept saying you were going to replace yourself with a programmer. When you got the chance to do that, it drove you crazy, and you couldn't handle not having, like, micromanagement control over everything. This is your you are the maker of your own hell, Alex Mahan.
There are so many other things I want to do with my life. I even want to try stuff that has nothing to do with game development, like recording audiobooks.
Oh my god, could you imagine listening to an audiobook in this voice? I mean, if you wanted to fall asleep fast, probably, but...
Start any new projects before I've finished my current project. Which means I won't have the freedom to do whatever I want with my life until Yandere Simulator is complete. This leads to a feeling of being trapped or even imprisoned by the project.
This is again a prison of your own fucking making. You put yourself behind those bars and are bitching about it and blaming everyone else.
There is no human being on Earth who wants Yandere Simulator to be finished more than I do.
Bullshit! You just want to keep the gravy train going. You just want to keep the Patreon money coming in and the teenage girls fawning over you and the praise you get from teenagers who don't know any better. And if you finish the game, you might lose all that. I don't know how conscious he is of that motivation, but it's definitely there.
Because completing this project is the only way to get my freedom back. Now, after hearing that, you might be thinking, okay, if you want to move on with your life...
After hearing that, I might be thinking, wow, Yandere Dev is such a whiny bitch who is ungrateful for his audience and all the opportunities he's had handed to him.
At this point in time, Yandere Simulator is basically complete. The only things that are missing are the scripted events for the remaining rivals.
It's not even complete now! You only have 2 fucking rivals, you fucking god!
To implement those events, I'll need hundreds of animations and voiced lines. To get the assets I need, I'll have to hire animators and voice actors.
Yeah.
And to raise enough money to pay them, I'll need to conduct a crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah, you've been saying this for like the last 5 fucking years, bro, in these videos we've been watching. Why didn't you just fucking do it? You could have done it at the height of its popularity. You probably would have gotten like the budget of a video game from that. You probably would have wasted it all because you're incompetent. You're an incompetent boob and you have too much of an ego and you're too narcissistic. But...
But people will only donate to the crowdfunding campaign if they trust me. And that is where the problem is.
Well, yeah, you've spent the last few years, like, you've spent the last 7 years giving everybody no reason to have any faith in you. And only now you're saying, like, I really don't get why, other than fear of failure, that he never did the crowdfunding campaign. I don't understand why. You know, there were probably people that would be willing to help him at the time.
Think back to what I said earlier in the video. There are people who don't know or just don't care about the mountain of content I've added to the game. And because there is only one rival in the game after 7 years, they perceive Yandere Simulator as a game that has barely made any progress towards its goal. And they perceive me as a developer who doesn't deserve their trust or support. The main problem is that when people attempt to explain why Yandere Simulator has been in development for so long, they often make up outlandish theories that are as far from the truth as possible.
You just admitted everything I've been saying right in this video, dude. So again, bullshit.
There are actually people who really believe that Yandere Simulator's lengthy development time is part of an evil, villainous plot to stretch out the number of monthly donations I can receive.
It is.
To be honest, this theory is absolutely ridiculous and falls apart after just a few seconds of critical thinking.
A few seconds of critical thinking being this wall of fucking text he wrote in his own defense here.
But the fact remains that there are actually a lot of people who believe it.
But that's just a theory, a game theory. Anyway.
That's only one example of many things that people say about Yandere Simulator and myself, which are not true. As long as there is a large number of people who doubt my integrity, I predict that a crowdfunding campaign would have zero chance of success.
If you had done it the first time you proposed a crowdfunding campaign, you probably would have gotten like fucking $100,000, bro. You're an idiot.
I think that my current goal should be to restore people's faith in me. But one of the things I'd like to do first is to demonstrate my ability to put 10 rivals into the game in a timely fashion.
Which he did in 1980s mode and not the main game because he's a fucking douchebag.
For some people, it will satisfy the criteria of making Yandere Simulator a finished game.
Okay, he probably is talking about 1980s mode. Let's see where he ends on this. This is our final stretch of video, guys. Actually, let me slow him down for the last part to play us out here.
So, now that I've had all this time to think about it, how would I define Yandere Simulator? Is it a stealth assassination game about killing 10 girls? Or is it an amusement park full of activities? Well, the answer is, it's both. This is just how things turned out. And honestly, I think the game we have today is better than the game we would have had if I had stuck to the original plan from 2014.
Cope.
Of course, I'm still going to be proactive about moving the game towards completion.
Alex, I don't think you've ever moved anything but yourself toward completion, let's be honest.
The only guarantee I can give you is that I'll continue trying my hardest to bring you the best game I can make. For now, I'm just going to get back to work. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out. And thank you for following the development of Yandere Simulator.
Okay, in the distant future, when I finally stream Cyberpunk 2077, somebody remind me to make my character Alex Mahan.